So, in my last email and a blog post about the Great Sleep Project, I gave a brief overview of the process that I've been engaged in gathering information about the different challenges that people are facing around having great sleep. Today, my objective is to offer you a broad overview. I'm going to cover a lot of ground, and I won't be able to go into much depth on every point, so I encourage you to take advantage of the fact that this is a recording. You can watch or listen to it as many times as you like. And over the coming weeks, I'm going to be sending out a series of short videos that'll go into some depth about each aspect I touch on today. Because as I read through your responses, and I have to say that I was totally blown away by the generosity of those responses, so many people shared deeply about their struggles with sleep. What I saw is that there's great diversity in the specifics of each person's story. And because I look through a lens that's been shaped by years of working with consciousness and exploration into how the subconscious mind works, what I started to see was that there were several clusters or patterns of subconscious responses that are at the root of virtually all of the struggles. And as I was reflecting on this and how to offer guidance in transforming your experience of sleep, the scope of this project just continued to expand and expand. I started to recognize that many of the trance work skills, tools, and resources that I've gathered and developed over the past several years are very much applicable and can be profoundly beneficial in terms of improving your experience of sleep. Beyond that, I also realized that the way in which what I have to offer can be of greatest benefit is by supporting you to cultivate your own trance work resources and skills. Essentially, cultivating a mastery of the potential of your own unified mind, harmonizing and bringing into alignment what is conscious with what is subconscious. Now, I recognize that while I've personally been focused on experientially exploring the nature of consciousness for nearly 30 years through Zen meditation and hypnosis, neuro-linguistic programming, shamanic journey work, psychedelic ceremony, and a whole pile of other modalities and approaches, it's been a lot of work. I've had to dig and seek and push to learn what I've learned. And I can say that what I've come to understand about how the mind, and here I mean the interplay of the conscious and the subconscious mind, actually works, isn't well known and definitely isn't accessible to most people. And that seems to be a huge problem because the truth is, there are significant resources at work in the educational, political, media, and corporate worlds that are making a lot of effort and spending a lot of money to ensure that you don't understand your mind. Because the less you understand your mind, the easier it is for you to be influenced for their benefit and profit. You see, your suffering is their bread and butter. So, what I want to do first, before I get into offering any kind of course or program or any other resource, including downloadable trance work processes, is to create a framework or a map of consciousness and how it works as I've come to understand it, and to offer some insight into how you can transform your very consciousness through trance work. In many traditional cultures that are intact, there are frameworks, ceremonies, and practices that help a person come to know their minds, their hearts, and their spirits. In some cultures, when a person is born, they are received by wise elders and community who support a new human being to grow and develop in a good way. But for many of us, this isn't the case. Sometimes I feel like each one of us has to struggle to figure out the nature of mind all on our own without any guidance at all. And I want to change that paradigm as much as I can. In short, what I'd like to do is to provide you with something I wish we could have all received on the day that we were born, but didn't. A basic user's manual and troubleshooting guide for your own mind, along with the personal support you'll need to understand, digest, and integrate these resources. Now, I'll be the first to acknowledge that, as the saying goes, the map is not the territory. And that's true. No model or map is perfect. Consciousness is infinitely complex, and I don't claim to understand the vastness and diversity of every aspect of mind. However, in order to empower the kind of transformation that's possible through trance work, we're going to need a solid foundation that we can build on. Once that foundation's in place, I'm going to deconstruct the processes involved in the formation of our beliefs and explore how our personal mythology begins to form when we're very young. What are the stories at our core that determine how we think, how we feel, and how we respond? How do we form our beliefs about the world and about ourselves? Understanding how our beliefs and personal mythologies arise and how these can get stuck or become rigid is critical if we want to get unstuck and begin to create a new story for ourselves, for our lives, for the future. Your mind has innate capacities that have evolved over tens of thousands of years to create efficiencies in your life, particularly where it relates to safety and survival, both physical and emotional. Gaining insight into how your particular mind generalizes and filters the experiences of your life, shapes them into seemingly predictable patterns, and fixes them into a default mode network is an essential component of choosing to transform your life. Your default mode network is an established and seemingly fixed set of thinking, feeling, belief, and response patterns that develops as you grow and mature from infancy. And it's shaped by the experiences that you're having as your life unfolds, or more accurately, by the interpretations, the stories that you tell yourself about the meaning of the experiences you're having as you grow up as a human being. So, why do some stories seem to stick so tenaciously, and other stories seem to just bounce off? Is it possible to change the stories that we tell ourselves subconsciously? Can we reinterpret the meaning of our lived experiences, and in doing so, can we intentionally transform some of our most deeply held limiting and harm-inducing beliefs? To answer these questions, I'm going to take you on an exploration of language and how your personal experience of reality has been captured, limited, and defined by how we express ourselves through language, both externally to others as well as internally to ourselves. All language is at root simply suggested interpretations of lived experience, because experience is something that is fundamentally beyond expression. What I'm saying is that all language is suggestion. From the time that we were born, our parents, our teachers, our political leaders, and so many other people have been suggesting their interpretations of what the experience of life is to us and at us. So why is it that we readily accept and adopt some suggestions and so easily reject other suggestions? Is it possible for you to express yourself with words that are easier or more difficult to accept? Are there elements of experience that can make us more or less able to accept suggestions? If so, what are those elements? Hypnotherapists aren't the only people for whom the nature of suggestion is important to understand. Again, all language is suggestion. Every day, all day, we're all swimming in a sea of suggestion. Understanding the power of how and what you and others are suggesting to each other and to ourselves, and being aware of the environmental, relational, energetic, and biological factors that impact our so-called state of consciousness can make us more or less open to suggestion and more able to actually choose the state of our minds. Now, I just said the so-called state of consciousness, and that's the next area that I want to explore with you. The language and ideas of how the mind works that we've absorbed through popular culture, to put it kindly, are at best inaccurate and misguided. And at worst, they're misleading and potentially dangerous. Many people think, for example, that a person is either awake or asleep. A lot of people believe that when they're asleep, they're unconscious. Most people that I meet in my work believe that it requires a discrete and special state of consciousness called hypnosis in order for them to become easily suggestible, and that it's necessary to close your eyes, to breathe slowly, and to sit in a recliner in a room with the lights dimmed. And I want you to know that all of these ideas are just plain false. They're poppycock. Your consciousness, your mind, cannot be halted or contained or fixed in any way that could accurately be called a state. Whenever the dynamics of your living experience shift, like the elements of your environment, or the tone of a speaker's voice, or the specific language being used, or qualities of relationship, your physical comfort, your body chemistry, and many, many other factors, your mind naturally responds to those shifts. Your consciousness changes because it's fundamentally connected and enmeshed with everything. I've found it much more useful to frame consciousness as a never-ending, never-ceasing flow, a weave, if you like, into which different threads are being woven in an ongoing and endless process. Certain patterns of your mind weave will generate wakefulness. Others induce restfulness. Some weaves lead to feelings of vigilance or even anxiety, and another blend can open your mind and your heart to learning, loving, and healing. I'm going to be sharing with you what I've learned about how to discern your unique weave of consciousness, and about how you can intentionally choose to repattern your own weave so that you can unravel old patterns that lead to ongoing harm and suffering, and create a new mind weave that will transform your life in truly incredible ways. My plan is to put all of this stuff together and get it out to you for free over the next few weeks. So you might ask, well, what about sleep, Eshu? I just want to get some sleep. Don't worry, I haven't forgotten about great sleep. One thing I'm absolutely sure of is that the vast majority of sleep issues that were shared with me are not fundamentally about sleep hygiene, for example. They aren't about decreasing your screen time or reducing caffeine or not getting enough exercise. Yes, all of those things have an impact, but they're all symptoms, and they aren't at the root of the issue. If they were, you'd all be sleeping like a log every night because you've already tried that stuff. Once we've created this framework of understanding, you'll be ready to begin something totally new. Together, we'll be able to unravel the specific weaves of your mind and consciousness that keep you up at night, and set about repatterning a whole new weave, like a blanket you can use to tuck yourself in with every night as you drift off into another great sleep. Of course, The principles I'm going to share with you aren't limited to just addressing your challenges with sleep. They're principles of mind and consciousness. Truly integrating this foundation will empower you to transform virtually any aspect of your life. So if you're ready to know more, you don't need to click, you don't need to buy anything. All you have to do is just stay tuned for my next message. And what I'm going to share, I'd love for you to share openly. So if you feel like it would be helpful to someone you know, please feel free to share it with them. If you aren't already on my mailing list and you want to receive these resources, please visit my website at www.monarchtranswork.com and sign up to receive my emails, discount, and more awesome stuff. See you soon.